Welcome to the second episode of Cooking for Wellness at NYU Langone Health, our series of cooking demos designed to share tips and techniques of how to cook healthy meals at home. I'm Chef Jeffrey Held.
And I am Edwina Rich. And today we are focusing on how superfoods will help with the healing process. The term superfood is a fairly new term referring to food that offer maximum nutritional benefits for minimal calories. They are packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants.
So today we're going to prepare some simple and delicious Thanksgiving recipes with seasonal ingredients. Apples, cranberries, ginger, celery, cinnamon, and raw honey. We're gonna make cornbread stuffing with chestnuts, roasted apples, and sage made with our own homemade gluten-free skillet cornbread. We're gonna make some homemade applesauce with raw honey and cinnamon. And we're making cranberry sauce with fresh orange and ginger. Let's get started. Okay, so before we get started on our cornbread stuffing, we're gonna go ahead and start our cranberry sauce. We're gonna take about 2 pounds of fresh cranberries, add them straight to the pot. And we're gonna peel our fresh ginger. We just use a simple cook spoon to peel the outside of the ginger. In this case, we're literally gonna leave this chunk whole. We're gonna throw it right into the pot with the cranberries because we want the flavor and the intensity, but we don't want it to break apart. We wanna keep it together. We're gonna take some fresh oranges. We peel the outside of the orange right into the pot with the peeler. So about 2 oranges worth. So we're gonna squeeze the juice of the orange right into the pot. We're gonna add cinnamon sticks, some cloves, and a little bit of raw honey. Today we're really focused on the purity of the ingredients. Last month we focused on certain techniques to bring out your cooking. This month it's cranberry sauce. So we're focused on simplicity of the cranberries. They're gonna bring an intensity, like vibrant acidity to the Thanksgiving feast. Really helps with cut the fat, cut the sweetness, cut the richness. So we're gonna add 4 cups of water. We're gonna turn our heat to a low to medium heat. So right before we got started on our cranberry sauce, we set our applesauce to simmer. I used 15, 20 apples, 2 cinnamon sticks, just a little touch of vanilla extract, and some honey. A little bit of water helps it cook down, and it's also gonna cook out as we cook the applesauce. We're gonna take a piece of parchment paper. Rather than cover it with a traditional metal top, we don't want it to be completely covered. So we take a little piece of parchment paper, fold it into quarters, fold it up like this. We use it to measure on the actual pot. Just simply rip it. We cover it up. That way the sauce gets to breathe and allow the steam to evaporate from the pot slightly, but not entirely. And we're gonna let it cook. Cranberries and the apples, we're gonna let it cook while we prepare our other sides for Thanksgiving. You can't overcook an applesauce. The more you cook this, the better it gets. So now we're gonna get started on our cornbread stuffing. So today we made our cornbread with a cup for cup flour. It's a brand you'll find at a grocery store. It's a completely gluten-free flour. So we add a little bit of butter to the pot, and we're gonna begin by sweating our onions on low heat. We're looking to cook the onions nice and slow, sweeten, soften, add a little bit of salt, just a pinch. Resist the urge to shake ground pepper on your food. Keep a grinder in the kitchen, grind it fresh. Okay, so as our onions are sweating, we're gonna add about a cup of celery, add a couple of cloves of garlic. So I'm gonna take about a cup of raisins. I'm gonna add it to about a cup of fresh orchard apple cider. We're just about ready to add our apples. So we took 2 really nice Liberty New York State apples, diced them up. I'm gonna add that to the pot. Meanwhile, you can see our cranberry sauce is starting to come up to a nice low simmer. Careful to heat. You don't want to scorch the bottom. Had about 15, 20 whole chestnuts. We're gonna score them. We're gonna roast them off in the oven for about 15, 20 minutes. Peel them, quarter them, add them right to the stuffing. We don't need to cook this too much. We're only gonna just get apples to start to slightly soften. We're gonna go ahead and add our bloomed raisins and cider right to the pot. So in preparation for our cornbread stuffing, we made our fresh homemade cornbread a day in advance. What we did is we let this sit out overnight and actually dry out and turn into a crouton. And then we gave it a light toast in the oven just for about 10-15 minutes at 325 degrees. We're gonna take our cornbread croutons. We're gonna add these right to the pot. So you got some nice liquid from this apple cider. We're gonna need to add a little bit more liquid, add a little bit more vegetable broth. I'm just kind of eyeing it up. I'm looking for a balance. I want it to be moist, but not too wet. Add a little bit more fresh pepper, a little bit of salt. We're gonna take some fresh thyme and sage. You could, of course, use the dry spices in the place of the fresh, but you're really not gonna get the same level of intensity and power that you get in the fresh herb. So we're gonna go ahead and kill that heat. We're gonna transfer the stuffing to a nice thick bottom metal roasting pan, so it'll help not burn it when it's in the oven. So we're gonna press it down. Anything that's kind of sticking up and protruding by itself is liable to burn, so smooth it out. This is gonna be in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how much space you have in your oven. We're gonna set it at about 325. It's okay if it needs to be 350. So we chose to make the stuffing with a vegetarian broth. You could easily switch it for a chicken broth or turkey broth. And we also chose to roast it in the oven by itself. This stuffing will work wonderfully inside a turkey. So it's all up to your choice. So our applesauce is ready to go. We're gonna go ahead and pull off the paper. I'm gonna pull out the cinnamon sticks. I'm gonna go ahead and blend it right in the pot. Now, not everyone has an immersion blender handy. Not a problem. You can go ahead and use any blender or food processor. Just be careful not to put too much in the processor while it's hot. So the skins of the apple, not only are they nutrient rich, they contain pectin, which helps thicken the sauce and actually gives it a ton of flavor. Most of us think of Thanksgiving as the day we stuff ourselves, but you can eat delicious food and still stick to your health goals. Here are some tips. First, skip the added sugar. Our applesauce is flavored just with honey, no refined sugar of any kind. And cinnamon further enhances the natural sweetness of foods and also provides antioxidants.
Watch your portion size. The foods we made today are great to indulge on, but just watch out for the higher calorie items like pie, gravy, and yums with marshmallows. If you're going to celebrate the season, make sure it's worth the calories.
And choose seasonal ingredients. Thanksgiving falls at the end of the autumn harvest season, and there are so many amazing vegetables available to feast on. You have pumpkins and squash of endless varieties, Brussels sprouts, apples, pears, root vegetables like carrots, turnips, parsnips, rutabaga, and then hearty, nutrient-rich greens like kale and collard greens. Keep these tips in mind for a happy and healthy holiday.
Happy Thanksgiving.